In 19th century, a British scholar, Peter Mark Roget, noticed something called persistence of vision. Persistence of vision basically means that when we move an image very quickly, generally 1 by 16th of a second, we don't see gaps between two frames. So, what we see is basically one picture after another. This, along with the Phi phenomena, which was discovered in 1912 by Max Wertheimer, is basically oddity in perception, which makes a series of images in rapid succession feels like a continuous motion. This is actually a bit of a trick the brain plays on our eyes or eyes plays on our brain. So through this we have created what is known as optical illusion and called it cinema. In the history of filmmaking, it actually starts with photography because photography was the parent of cinema. Because cinema was a series of photographs in the initial stage. Let's start with how photography came into being. Photography became an art form in the 19th century. French inventor Joseph Niépce Niepce took the first camera photograph. It took him at least 8 hours to actually record the one picture. This time-consuming process was shortened by Louis Daguerre by inventing a process called daguerreotype in 1839. He had cut 8 hours of development to just 2 minutes for one picture. Now, George Eastman, another inventor in 1870s, actually changed this method of taking pictures. Before Eastman, photographs were recorded on metal and glass. This made photography very fragile, very heavy, and not at all flexible. Eastman invented a method of creating pictures on paper other than metal or glass. Another name that we associate with motion picture is Edward Muybridge. He recorded the first motion picture called A Gait of a Galloping Horse in 1878. So what happened was that he took 12 cameras and put them in a horizontal line, and a horse basically ran through the camera one by one, and the cameras were trip wired, so whenever the horse crossed it, the wire could trip and the camera would take the photograph. Thus, they had 12 continuous photographs of the action. Another inventor called E. Julius Mary, created the photographic gun. It's a sort of a gun, but it used roll of paper. Yes, the same paper invented by George Eastman, and it could shoot 12 continuous photographs. So instead of having to set up 12 cameras like Muybridge, by this, for the rapid gun could take a burst of 12 photographs in rapid succession. This was basically the first motion picture camera. So, which was the first motion picture camera? Yes, the camera made by E.J. Mary, the chronophotographic gun. Now, let me introduce two inventors who contributes to the growth of cinema. One is Thomas Alva Edison and his assistant William Kennedy Laurie Dixon. They created the first motion picture camera called kinetograph. You may get confused whether the first motion picture camera is kinetograph or the chronophotographic gun. In the history of cinema, kinetograph is considered as the first motion picture camera, even though we know chronophotographic gun paved the way. The film was shown through a device called kinetoscope for kinetograph. Thomas Alva Edison was the person who created the first phonograph. The phonograph was the device that could record sound in 1888. He first thought of the idea of marrying the phonograph with supraciscope. Supraciscope was a very early projector made by Maybridge. Thomas Alva Edison saw movies not as a mass media but as an individual viewing experience. So for this, he turned to his engineer William Kennedy Laurie Dixon, who created a device called kinetoscope. It was a heavy device and the viewing portion was on the top. A person could put a coin inside the machine and he could operate it and could see and view the motion picture inside. These motion pictures were about 30 seconds long and there were so many kinetoscope parlors known as Nickelodeons. In 1894, Dixon and Edison experimented with recording sound and images together. For this purpose, they created a device called kinetophone. The device was a kinetoscope connected to a phonograph. These films that they made in hundreds featured vaudeville performers. It's a typical type of entertainment popular in US during that period, featuring a mixture of specialty acts like including comedy, song and dance. Vaudeville also include juggling, flexing muscles, then doing magic or dance shows like that. They were only interested in capturing and showcasing motion or movement. That is the reason these films are called motion picture rather than cinema. The Edison's manufacturing company established its own kinetograph studio at West Orange, New Jersey. The first motion picture studio named Black Maria was constructed by Dixon in 1893. The motion pictures they produce serve the sole purpose of entertainment. Some of the notable titles are Chinese Laundry, Train Bears, Blacksmith Scene, Dentist Scene, and Highland Dance. At the same time, many in Europe and America attempted to design a device to perfect the projection of a series of photographs. The English inventor William Frese Gurney and a French scientist named Louis A. Augustin Le Prince are some names associated with that. In France, Lumiere brothers created the cinematography, which was the first camera of which was capable of shooting, developing and also exhibiting the said film captured. It was a portable device. The major contribution of cinematography was it set the standard for silent films as 16 frames per second. Cinematography had the capacity to project motion picture, so a large group of people could see the same picture at the same time. Film exhibition was a concept start with Lumiere brothers. On December 28, 1895, at the basement of Grand Café, Paris, 10 short films were screened. These include the arrival of the train, the sprinkler, and the workers leaving the factory. These were mini documentaries, but they didn't have narration. They were named as actualities, which was basically showcasing realities, and they were all less than a minute long. Some of the films were exhibited for paying audience in Paris. Thus began the entertainment of cinema as an industry. Experimenting and developing new things and new ideas. One of the names that actually came to my mind is George Méliès and his films. Using vaudeville performers and their actualities in his films, he was a magician by profession and he used his cinema and his camera as a sort of magic act. So his films actually used a lot of tricks that were later refined and we still use them today. So he did a lot of work on the editing dimensions of the cinema. Editing was discovered actually by this George Méliès, and actually it happened all on a sudden or as a part of accident. Once he was shooting in Paris street and his camera actually jammed for 2-3 seconds. During this time, the city life in front of his camera has completely changed. So the result was something different. When he play back his reel, he see men were replaced by women, and the horses were replaced by hers. Something went wrong, like, and now like actually he was actually a magic was happening before him, and trick films were started to develop through Melis this experience. For this he used editing and special effects, and he later on create double exposures, inverted cutting, altered magnifications, so many special effects were tried by him, and he invented these to create magic act of illusion. Now his signature film 1902, A Trip to the Moon, which was a 14-minute film. So now we have come from 1 minute actualities to a 14-minute film. This was actually 3 times the average length of Lumiere Brothers or Edison's film. The main difference was Melis used all the special effects and trick photography that he had developed over the years, and it was not an actuality film like Lumiere Brothers or that of Edison. It was a narrative driven, story driven film. It was developing a fantasy setting, and many critics called it the first science fiction film or science fiction cinema. So which was the first science fiction film? A Trip to the Moon 1902 by George Méliès. Now, grammar of cinema actually can be attributed to Edwin S. Porter. Edwin S. Porter in 1903 was engaged with Edison's films. He was an assistant of Thomas Alva Edison, and he started making films for narrative engagement rather than to astonish the audience. And because people had become bored with actualities and vaudeville performers, and something new should be there, the entire concept of motion picture had not started to wane, and the audience need to be attracted in a different way. Porter was the person discovered parallel action and cross-cutting. Parallel action means that two scenes that are not actually connected to each other but are happening in the same time zone, and cross-cutting between them. That means between the two parallel actions. This created a new way of conveying the story. It was just like a phone call is an example. You can imagine two people talking from two sides of the telephone, and you can cross cut it between them. This is happening at the same time simultaneously, so you can use parallel cutting here. And it was first used in Life of an American Fireman by Edwin S. Porter. There a rescue operation was showcased, and some people were inside the building and some people were coming out of it. It was a rescue operation by an American fireman. So the story could be conveyed in a different way, and cross-cutting developed by Porter actually became better and refined later by other directors too. But it was the first time that such an experiment of two scenes being joined together was seen. If you look at the films by Méliès, you can see the action is happening right in front of the camera. It is allowed to be discontinued, or it takes its own course to finish. In contrast, here Porter's films, you have two different scenes that are tied together in a single time, and making editing more crisp, and it makes for a more refined storytelling. And Porter then went on to release in the same year his masterpiece, The Great Train Robbery, which had become a masterpiece film narrating the story telling form in Hollywood itself. In addition to now prominent cross-cutting, this film is also significant as it was the first film in the way the camera was actually moved during a shot. That means a pan movement was taking place, that is from left to right, the camera itself, the head of the camera is moving. And tableau style scenes were also there, which means the camera was static and people in front of the camera were moving. People would do the act and they will be doing something different. They will be acting something, a kind of blocking, a kind of acting is happening there. In Great Train Robbery, you can see both the things. One is the movement of the camera head, pan movement, and the other one is tableau style camera. That means camera is static and the people are moving in front of it. In addition to the tableau style of camera, in one shot, the camera actually moved in the shot to showcase a moving image. That means moving along with the subject. This is another thing. Camera moving, and along with that, the subject is also moving. It also led to artists, technicians, and engineers after they started to make diverse ways to make films longer, because films were becoming more narrative, and so they require more complex structures and longevity. People were thinking about more narration perspectives. Now, the film used to travel from one country to another country. The films were circulated from theatre to theatre. The concept were changing. The concept of distribution, concept of exhibition come during this period. Another name which could associate with cinema, the growth of cinema, is D.W. Griffith. He is also called as the father of feature film. Film was about 14 to 15 minutes to maximum 20 minutes during his time. He created what he now call a feature-length film. That means which clocks between 70 to 130 minutes. This was created by D.W. Griffith, so he is called as the father of feature film. He is also called as the father of modern editing, and he was the first person to develop something called close-ups, insert shots, flashbacks, and of course we improve on Porter's cross-cutting and made more polished it. He polished it, concept of cross-cutting. He is just called the godfather of American narrative cinema. His signature film, The Birth of a Nation, which was released in 1915, is considered as one of the golden standards of feature-length films, and it actually gave rise to the death of two reel films. This feature-length film actually was four-reel film. The four-reel long was D.W. Griffith, Birth of a Nation. The story was based on events just after the Civil War. A narrative shown in this film is refined, and it's narrative that we can associate to even by today's cinematic concepts. That means I just said that what D.W. Griffith developed in that time, to that we have grown very little. That means we have added a very little amount. All other things related to film editing was developed by him, the great man. The camera is stable, and all the activities that is happening is happening from a very tactical perspective of the tableau system. But with the use of blackened framing, we see a rudimentary style of close-ups which enhances the feelings and expressions of the actors. That was D.W. Griffith. Students, I think you have understood what I taught today, and we will continue our history of cinema in the next session too. Enjoy learning cinema.